So for me, landscape photography is probably 90% location. I'm hoping today we've picked a good one to show you. Just a shame about the weather. Excuse the horrible phone recording here, but there's no way I'm getting the cameras out of the bag while this is tipping down. So Gordale Scar, boys and girls. Probably quite a nice place on a nice summer's sunny warm day. The weather forecast was wrong. It's not foggy, it's absolutely tipping down, but well, the weather forecast suggests it might stop in the next hour and a half, so I'm just gonna get in there and see what we can do. But it looks like an awesome place, is it? It's a shame about the weather. So on the walk in, I just took an iPhone snap. Go to the side of the wall with a big boulder, and that's like everything looked quite fun. We can maybe do something with layers. Obviously there's no light today, so anything like that's going to be fudged in post-processing, but there's what we're going to take a photograph of. So there's one waterfall there, and there's a larger one just behind it. Now, it's kind of possible to scramble up this first waterfall. There's not as much water coming over as I thought there may well be, so it does in fact look possible. We may be able to get up, but this is going to... One of the things, you're going to have to think about it, stand back and just take a good look and see how it goes. But for now, the rain's still tipping down. I'm still on the mobile phone. I'm just going to hang around, maybe find a little crevasse to hide in, let this rain pass, get a photograph of the first waterfall, and then just see what the rest of the day brings. But this place is absolutely spectacular. YouTube videos, honestly, these YouTube videos do this place absolutely no justice. So what I've come across here is like a little overhanging area, which is just allowing me to get out of the rain, get the cameras away, get the tripods dried off, and most importantly, get myself dried off as well. Now, I brought the EM5 Mark II with me, and I also have my 40-150 lens. Now, it's not the best lens in the world, it's plenty sharp enough, but it's just going to allow me to reach the waterfall from this overhang. I just hope I've got a filter ring capable of fitting this lens. So let's try and take a first warm-up photograph from underneath this overhang before we get the wider lenses and get a little bit closer as this rain dies off. Alright, so it turns out I do actually have an adapter for this lens, which is great. It means I can throw the polarizing filter on the front of the lens, which is going to cut through a lot of the glare from the wet rocks, but it's also going to pop a lot of the greenery on the mosses and the grasses that line the side of this canyon. So I'm going to throw a polarizer on, possibly a 3-stop filter as well, because I tried to test shot without the filter on. It was giving me around 1/10 of a second, which was giving some flow to the water, but just not quite enough. So let me get some filters on this. I'll talk you through what I'm doing, and hopefully we'll end up with something reasonable. There are better shots to be had from here, I feel, but I think as a first test shot, I think this one may work all right. So on the front of the lens now, I have a 3-stop ND filter, and behind it there is a polarizing filter. So I've rotated the polarizer just to take the glare off the rocks, just so you can cut through the glare and you can really see the colours and the details inside the rocks. And the 3-stop filter is just going to give us that long exposure look. We're down to around about a second. The lens is currently at f5, 1.6 seconds with ISO 200. The reason I'm shooting at f5 instead of a smaller aperture such as f8 and f11, I use a micro four thirds camera, and the smaller sensor on that allows you to get a little bit of a greater depth of field, which works great for these landscape shots. You don't have to have the smaller apertures that you normally would on a full frame camera. So there's a big rock in the foreground, so I'm using that just as a bit of a foreground interest. We've got the waterfalls leading up through the canyon, there's a patch of green at the top, and just leading up to some more rock in the distance. So I'm going to go ahead using the trusty 2-second timer. Let's take the first photograph from Gordale Scar. Alright, so we're back on the trusty iPhone once again. I've just left the cameras and the tripods just tucked nice and safe under the crevasse, but I think coming out here the rain seems to have stopped, so we're just going to approach the waterfall a little bit more. It's just over there. I just want to have a poke around with the wide angle lenses on this camera. While we're not going to damage any equipment doing this, it's just going to allow me to figure out a composition, and hopefully we'll just be able to grab it nice and quick with the actual camera instead of running the risk of flooding cameras and lenses while we're here. But this thing is awesome. I mean, check this out. This does absolutely no justice whatsoever on this video. It's incredible. So let's get the wide angle lenses out. I'll try and talk over this as I'm doing it, but obviously I've not got a microphone. I'm just using this on the phone, so you might not be able to hear me too well. Let's have a look. Let's see if we can find a composition. I don't know if you can hear me over the noise of the rushing water here, but I'm kind of thinking somewhere around this area. We have this big rock, we have some rather large boulders around here, so I'm thinking maybe a vertical composition like this, pointing down with a 6mm lens, getting all of the rushing water and the movement around here, just leading up to the waterfall in the background. I'm now wet already, but yeah, I'm thinking there's a composition here. I really like the swirling water coming off that small waterfall there. I think that maybe this is the foreground, that's the middle ground, and I'm hoping somewhere up there is a nice background as well. So another part of the plan for today's video is to scramble beyond this waterfall to another waterfall. You may just be able to see it above the peak of my hat there. There's another waterfall back there. Now, in planning this video, I've been talking with a guy called Simon at work who's familiar with the area, and he's given me a bit of a tutorial and a crash course in climbing up this. There's a large boulder which is there. I have to climb up that and then keep to the left of the canyon as soon as I get to the top. So I think once we've got what we need from down here, the idea is to climb up and get a slightly more impressive photograph of the larger waterfall at the top. But in doing that, I am then almost committing myself to walking over the top of the limestone pavement and around to Malham Cove. Now, it's only a mile walk, it's not too far. I'm just not sure if there's photographs to be had once you get up on top of the pavement. So let's get the photograph from down here and just see how it goes once we get up there. It's time to do some sketchy, you know the song. So before I attempt to do anything dangerous and stupid and scary with the big waterfall, there's this really big boulder, and I thought it makes a really fantastic foreground interest, leading up just to the sides of the canyon. The right hand side is brighter than the left hand side, so you're able to use some sort of layering effect here. So I've thrown the 6mm Laowa lens on with the polarizing filter just to take the glare and the shine off once again, because the rocks are really shiny because they're soaking wet through. There's no real sky to speak of, so the sky is essentially going to look a little bit white and pale. But I think just the dramatic looking scene, the greens and the darks and the contrast are really going to make this photograph pop off. So let's take a photograph and then we'll go play with the waterfall. So this is how I've got this photograph composed on the back of the camera. So at the bottom there we have the really big boulder, so the polarizer is rotated, just taking the glare off of the boulder. We have the canyon on the left hand side here. You can see it's really quite dark, but there's just a patch of green just on top there, and it's really just popping off a little bit of colour, leading around to the rest of the canyon, which is slightly brighter, and the rather overexposed sky in the background. I don't think it's overexposed, I just think it's a bit bright. So there we go, 2-second timer. There's that photograph in the bag. Let's go play with the waterfall. Right, it's time to go and play with the waterfall with my big yellow friend. So a top tip here. I carry these really big microfiber cloths in the car, and I found that draping one of these over the camera, when it's got the filter holder kit on it, especially in conditions like this, it just keeps the filters free from little rain spots and everything like that. And you can also wipe the lenses and the filters down as well. Just between shots, it just allows you to keep a clean looking image instead of having to go home and clone stamp or heal away all of the little rain spots. So this is what I do. I drape a really big microfiber cloth across the front of the camera and the lens, and it just keeps all the water off of everything. So I've got the rain cover on my bag because we're about to go near the water. I'm not too sure what I'm going to do with this camera, where I'm going to place this. It looks like it might be a bit of an iffy spot to get two cameras on the go, but I'm going to try my best to record this the best I can for you. Right, let's do it. Let's go get up close and personal to the biggest waterfall I've ever seen. So here we are. I think this might be as close as I can get you lot. Looking at it, there doesn't seem to be anywhere else I can patch it, so I need to climb over this big rock here. There's a couple more rocks behind me so I can get the camera in place to take this photograph. The rain has just broken just a little bit, but I don't think we've got too long before it returns, so I kind of think it's now or never for this waterfall photo. So yep, I can see the spot, it's just a case of getting to it. Oh, wish me luck. Alright boys and girls, we've made it, and I've managed to bring you along with me. So we're going to go handheld. I hope the microphone is not going to be blasted out by the sound of the rushing water here. So let me show you around the composition that I've got here. So let me fandangle the camera. I apologise for any dodginess going on. So we have the big waterfall coming down. The waterfall in the background there. It leads through these smaller waterfalls with a pool there just behind the camera. And if I pan you around, we have an extra waterfall just off there. So there's a line of the water leading through this composition. So if I show you this on the back of the camera, with some more dodgy handheld there, be able to see, starting off in the top right hand corner, just a line of the water coming through. We have the edge of this rock that the camera is perched on, so that's coming in, just framing off at the bottom. And then we have all of the rest of the canyon just framing everything nicely. So let's have a look at some camera settings here. So we're at 1.3 seconds, f11, and I believe it's ISO, I can't remember the ISO off the top of my head. It is what it is. We're ultra wide, 6mm, polarizing filter on, just taking the glare off. 2-second timer. Well, there's the photograph. I'm really glad I was able to bring you up here to take this photograph. It's looking like it could possibly be a really quite nice one. Now, the next part of this video, I don't know if I've got them. I don't know if they're big enough. There's a lot of water coming over that. I can see the route up that I need to take. But when you actually get here, it's really quite intimidating. I've seen it on YouTube. I've watched people go up. I know exactly where to go and how to get up. But when you're here in person, it's definitely a different ball game when you're looking at it. So I think I'm going to spend 10-15 minutes just thinking this through. Just thinking, is it worth scrambling up a waterfall? I get the feeling it's a wet one. It's a good job I've got the drain bag over the bag, but let's see. Let's see what happens. So owing to the fact that the rain has made a bit of a return and my testicles are not large enough to scale that waterfall, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to head back to the car, dry off for half an hour, and I think I'm going to head off to another location which is it's around a mile away, called Malham Cove. It's very similar. There's a big limestone cliff face there with what I believe is a waterfall coming across with a beck running through it. And while we're in the area, I thought we might as well go and have a play. We'll just have a look at that. So I'm going to head back to the car, get everything dried off, have some lunch, have a drink, chill out for a few minutes. Let this next rain shower pass, and then we head off Malham Cove, see what that place is like. So once again, we're on the mobile phone. The rain has come back, but we're making the 1 mile hike across to Malham Cove. It's not an area I've been before. I'm not familiar with this trail, so everything I come across is just a nice pleasant surprise. But over in the distance I can really just see the low cloud over there. Today was never going to be about light. It was all going to be about, I suppose, contrast and composition, if I've managed to get it so far. So I need to blame my parents for this. See, when I was a kid, every Sunday morning I get dragged out of bed kicking and screaming, going exploring North Yorkshire, and at the time I probably made a little bit more of a fuss than I probably should have done, because deep down I actually really quite enjoyed it. But at the time, you know, you're a kid, I don't think you're anything worse than going out walking for the day. But I kind of have my parents to blame for this today, because if they hadn't done that, I wouldn't have gone into who I am now, and well, I wouldn't be here. So I guess I kind of need to be thankful for the childhood I did have. Oh, I'll tell you what, it's fresh today. Not only is it wet, it's also a little bit on my fresh side as well, and muddy and all kinds of fun like that. So I'll pick this up when we get a little bit closer to Malham Cove. I'm not too sure where this trail's going to bring us out, and if it's going to be on the top or if it's going to be on the bottom. Time will tell. Let's just see what happens. So I'm stood on what appears to be the highest point of this climb. There's like a mound, but it's got this awesome view across this valley. And across the way you can see all of the mist and the fog and everything just lifting up from the trees and the grass and everything. It looks kind of awesome because it's kind of falling off in layers and stages. The further back you get, the more silhouetted and soft everything appears to become. There is a cluster of trees that I'm really quite drawn to, with like a yellowy light patch of grass next to it, but in the background you can just see everything is just falling off. So let's take a photograph with my trusty 40-150 plastic fantastic Olympus lens. This lens has really proved quite versatile today, actually. I think it's the most I've ever used it. So I'm just going to focus on a cluster of trees if I can find it. There it is with the yellow patch of grass and just everything leading off into softness. So it's 6.3 at 200th of a second and ISO 200. So here we are then, boys and girls. We've made it to a very wet and damp and drizzly Malham Cove. I do have the EM5 on the tripod. I'm going to try and do something with this here, but the rain is really sort of raining quite a lot, so I'm going to have to do this one quite quickly. I might film it handheld and do it as quick as possible, just to eliminate the need for, well, drying things off as much as I can. This camera and body is weather sealed. The EM5 is not, that's why it's still under the silly yellow cloth. But wow, what a place this is. It's just a shame about the weather. Well, we're back on the phone again. So, I did just record a whole segment taking a photograph of Malham Cove, because we did indeed come down into Malham Cove. I'll show you, it's really quite pretty and impressive. The problem was I didn't realise that the microphone was in my pocket the whole time. The audio was very muffled, so we'll do it on the phone. I took a photograph of a sheep, so I thought looked quite nice. I'm hoping it's not covered in raindrops. So the rain, as I say, it really hasn't. It's just not gone away. It's just impossible, this one today. And the last one was a long exposure type photo, just of some... I got in the middle of the stream basically and just got the stream swirling around a little bit of grassland leading up to Malham Cove in the background. So thank you very much for watching this one today. It's been an absolute nightmare to record with the weather, but I'm glad I came out and did it. It's been an experience. I'm just hoping everything survives the damp. I'll have to get it all out on the seats on the way home just to dry it out a little bit. So yeah, thank you for watching. If you did enjoy today's video, please do give it a like and a thumbs up. It really does help the video, and it brings new viewers to see my stuff. And well, if you liked it more than that, there is a subscribe button somewhere below me. You can see that. You can see more nonsense from me every single week. So until next time, I love you and leave you and say peace and goodbye.